If I had to start running again from scratch, there are a lot of things I do differently. When I first got into the sport, I made so many mistakes that held me back, slowed my progress and caused way more frustration than I needed. So in this video, I want to share the habits, training choices and mindset traps I'd never repeat if I was to start over, and more importantly, what I do instead to get faster, stay consistent and actually enjoy the process. We all hit speed bumps along the way that can derail us, and I've certainly hit my fair share. But 10 years of experience is finally paying off, I hope, so I want to share today what I would do differently if I started again. Number one, I'd never copy other people's training. Everyone has different physiology, goals, life load, limiting factors. What works for some people won't work for others. Following elites, influencers, friends won't often work. We're all very different and we all progress in our own different ways. I remember back when I started running, there were a group of us that we used to run together, do a lot of sessions with, and I would get so frustrated because I'm not naturally a runner. I've had to work really hard to get to where I am. If you look at the way I run and the frame that I'm in, I'm just not the natural runner that you would see running along 5'6", 5'7", 50, 60 kilos. I'm completely the other end of the spectrum. So I would get so frustrated watching other people improve when I wasn't, and therefore I would try and research other people's training that were much faster than me, try and copy that and get myself into a hole because I was trying to play catch up with other people and I just wasn't progressing and I was overcooking it at the same time. Now those were all lessons learned in the very early days, but it really did make me stagnate for a very long time, get me very frustrated when I wasn't progressing as fast as others. So if I was to start again, what I'd absolutely do is make sure that I enjoyed the process, but number one, I'd find the routine that works for me. For example, now I run 7 times a week, or try to, within 5 days, and I double on a couple of days. Those are the days when my kids are maybe at clubs, so I've got the time to go and do it. I'm not someone that finds it easy to run 7 days a week. I've managed to make that routine based on my circumstances, and I've built that up over time. Again, before I used to try and fit myself into other people's schedules, and it just never worked. Then when I got that routine, just making sure that I followed some kind of structure rather than going out there and doing what I wanted to, that would be a massive plus because I would often just sack things off and go and do what I wanted to. And again, that is just another thing that never made me progress. And number two, I'd never train without a clear goal for each run. So again, that comes back to exactly what I was just saying in that previous point, where I'd make sure that I knew what I was going out to do. I would make sure that I enjoy my easy runs because I never really used to, and now I make a real point of saying it's my easy day today, so I'm just going to go out there and enjoy myself. It doesn't matter what the pace is, as long as I feel like I'm running easy, that's all that matters. Just make sure I go out there and have fun. And then on my structured days, as I said, follow a plan, or at least get some kind of guidance from a local running club. That's one of the best things that you guys can do. Not only does it embed you into that local scene, it took me way too long to join my local club, and although I don't train with them, I built up a good community of friends based on the people that run in our area, and it's always great to catch up with them when I can. It took me about 4 or 5 years to get stuck into my running club, and this advice, as I said, all stems from the fact that I would go out there, maybe have something on a plan or something in my mind that I knew I should do, but then I'd just go, do you know what, I'm just going to go and run that normal 4-mile loop that I do. And then what will happen is I'll normally end up going and run that a bit too hard if it was an easy day. If I was meant to be doing a structured workout at a certain pace range, I'd scrap it and go and do this loop. I had a couple of loops that I used to do all the time that just used to sack off my workouts to go and do that instead. And if you do the same thing over and over again and don't really give your body the variety that it needs as you're developing as a runner, then it's really not going to help you progress at all. So that was a big mistake that I made. Number three, I think you'll resonate with this one quite a lot. I'd never panic about a bad run again. Bad runs happen, and now I just brush them off. It happens and you just move on, because as you get more experience as a runner, you realize that things like lack of sleep, if you're feeling a bit under weather in general actually, if you're trying to do a workout and it's really windy or a bit hot or really cold and you struggle to find your flow, these things happen. Back when I started, I used to get so frustrated if I had a bad run. I knew why I was doing it, because I was overcooking myself. I'd go out one day and feel absolutely terrible. And do you know what would happen next? I'd make sure that the next run I go out and get my revenge. Again, I speak to so many people that have done this in the past and still do it now. You kind of feel like you've got a point to prove that you are fit, and you need to prove yourself because you had a bad run and you need to right that wrong. It's just not the case. Again, with my athletes that I coach now and myself, if you have a bad session or if you have a bad run. It's one of those things, you just write it off and you leave it in the past. You don't need to revisit it, you just move forward. Again, with experience comes knowledge that bad runs happen. It's okay, life stresses can get in the way, all sorts of things can happen to make that run not particularly the best, but it's just a one-off. Again, it's taking that holistic approach where you can step back, look at 365 days in a year and go, well, out of all the runs that I've done, I just had one or two that weren't particularly great, and it really doesn't matter. Number 4, I'd stop comparing myself to other runners. This is something I used to do so much back in my first 3 or 4 years. I touched on it in that first point where I was talking about copying other people's training, and that stemmed from the fact that I was just looking around at the people that I was running with and wondering why I wasn't progressing as fast as them. Again, as I've got older and understand and have the experience of the running that I have, I know that not everyone is going to progress at the same rate. I guarantee you will know someone that you'd be running in a group of 10 people, and there will be that one or maybe two that is really naturally talented. They're gifted, they can do half the work that you do, and they can progress faster than you. It's so infuriating. I am not one of those people. I work really hard consistently year in, year out to try and catch up to some of those people that are naturally gifted. Those people are super talented, and then with the hard work, they're the ones that tend to go on and do really well in the sport. For us, we can just work hard and do the best that we can do. What you also have to remember is other people can handle different training loads as well. So I'm someone that's been able to handle quite a bit more intensity than other people. Some people would break if they did the amount of intensity I do. On the flip side, I couldn't handle the volume that some people do. Although I've been working on that over the years and built myself up with the mileage slowly, I found that some people could just handle really big, easy mileage and again, progress that way. As I mentioned earlier, the makeup of each and every one of us is completely different, and we react to different stimuluses. Although we have a common goal of improving and getting better as runners and wanting to take that next step, and there are clear guidelines of how to get there, some athletes will respond to certain training styles in a different way. And again, it's about finding that out. That's something that I had never or did never cross my mind when I was in my early days, and it used to infuriate me. So I would never compare myself again. Number 5, I would never ignore strength training again. Probably a runner's kryptonite for a lot of us. We're just not interested unless you've come from a strength background and then you're getting into running for a bit of cardio. If you're the other way around, where you're getting into running because you enjoy the sport and get to the point where you need to do a bit of strength, it's really hard for us runners to get into it, but I promise you it's worth it. My story is that I ran with a bad back for absolutely years, and it wasn't until a few years ago when I actually decided to do something about it. Bad backs would absolutely cripple me and my training for such a long period of time because I never addressed the root cause of my problem, which was a weak core, hips, glutes, and it would just derail training. And sometimes I'd rock up to races and just not have it in me. Everything would be aching and sore in and around that area. And you know, when you have a bad back, if you're a bad back sufferer, sometimes you completely lose the power in your legs and you just get off that start line and you think, why am I doing this? I've paid all this money to get into a race and I've not looked after myself, and I just put in a subpar performance. So as soon as I started addressing that, I've been able to rock up to race day with one less excuse, which is at least I know that I'm putting in the work to make myself stronger. I do the right warm-ups, I do the work now to make sure that I don't have that in my locker as an excuse when it comes to race day. Again, it's got rid of all the pain as well, and thankfully I don't suffer with that anymore. So I would 100% never neglect that. And finally, number 6, I would never ignore fueling again. Now, I apologize for keep banging on about this one in the last 2 or 3 videos that I've done like this. For me, this is something that has changed the game. So a few people have commented recently on some race vlogs, realistically this year, and said, oh, your progress has been really good. And I'm extremely grateful for the last couple of years that I have been able to make progress. I promise you, a lot of it is down to the fact that I take my training seriously now enough to fuel the body. I don't like it, but I have porridge most mornings now to make sure I get a decent breakfast in so that I'm well fueled. The last debate I had on my last video was about fasted running and how I don't really agree with it when I'm doing big sessions. A lot of you out there said that you do fasted running. You eat a good dinner the night before and you can't get the food in the morning to get up and fuel well. Fully appreciate that. I'm just speaking from experience. My training has transformed. I'm taking it ridiculously seriously. And for me, it's made the biggest difference. I never have sessions now where I feel underfueled, weak, tired. I can most of the time hit everything I need to. Back years ago, it would be a case of I'd massively underfuel. Some sessions would go well, some wouldn't. It might be 50-50. And again, progress was so small. I feel like I've made bigger progress in the last couple of years because I've taken it seriously. Elite athletes in particular, this is something we can take from them. Even though we're not copying their training, we can look at them and say, well, they're not underfueling. They're taking their fueling seriously because they need to put in the miles and log the work. And if we're serious about leveling up our performances, then we need to do the same. And that's something that I would never, probably in this list, the biggest thing I would never compromise on ever again. And there are a few other things that I could have put in the list, but I wanted to highlight these 6 because I feel like if I look back over my journey, these are the things that I can really pinpoint and say, if I started again from scratch, this is exactly what I would do differently. I feel like there's more resources now for newer runners, and newer runners are seeing big improvements because there's a lot of information out there. There's also a lot of dangerous information out there as well, and obviously that can scupper people's progress too, depending on what it is. I'd love to hear from you more experienced runners, what you would have added to this list. Please do drop a comment below. It'd be great to hear what you've learned mistakes from and what you would never do again if you had to start from scratch. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, then make sure I leave a link on screen here. 6 running habits I'd avoid if I wanted to get faster. This has been a popular one, so hopefully I'll see you guys over here.